Jessica was the kind of girl that could make anyone feel special. With her warm smile and magnetic energy, she had an uncanny ability to make people feel seen. When she met Daniel at a mutual friend's party, it felt like fate. He was charming, confident, and made her laugh like no one else. Jessica fell fast, and she fell hard. At first, Daniel was flattered by her attention. She texted him good morning every day, sent him cute videos to cheer him up during those long work days, and never missed an opportunity to plan romantic surprises. He thought he'd hit the jackpot, but as the weeks turned into months, her affection began to feel like a vice tightening its grip around his life. Jessica had a habit of showing up uninvited. Once, Daniel found her sitting on his couch when he came home from work. She had let herself in with a key she had duplicated without his knowledge. She was waiting with a homemade dinner and a beautiful smile. "I just wanted to surprise you," she said. "You're always so busy. I thought this would make you happy." At first, Daniel tried to brush it off, but soon her surprises escalated. She would track his location through his phone and show up wherever he was, whether he was at the gym, a restaurant, or a work meeting. When he asked her how she always seemed to know where he was, she just laughed. "You post everything online," she said. "I'm just paying attention." But Daniel hadn't posted anything for weeks. Jessica's obsession deepened. She started befriending his friends, showing up at their gatherings without an invite. She even tried to charm his family, baking cookies for his mom and sending his sister expensive gifts. When Daniel brought up how uncomfortable it made him, her smile vanished. "Why are you pushing me away?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I thought you loved me. Don't you see how much I'm doing for you?" He tried to set boundaries, but Jessica had a way of twisting his words until he felt like the bad guy. She began to cry at the slightest disagreement, accusing him of not appreciating her efforts. Soon, Daniel found himself walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering another meltdown. One day, Daniel came home to find Jessica in his bedroom. She was sitting on the bed, holding a shoebox filled with old letters and photographs from his ex-girlfriend. Her eyes were red, cheeks streaked with tears. "Why do you still have these?" she demanded, her voice shaking with anger. "I'm not enough for you?" Daniel tried to explain that they were just mementos from the past, but Jessica wasn't listening. She dumped the contents of the box onto the floor and lit a match. Flames devoured the letters, the photographs, and any hope Daniel had of salvaging the relationship. When Daniel finally ended things, Jessica didn't take it well. She flooded his phone with messages, alternating between apologies and threats. She showed up at his workplace, screaming that he was a liar and a cheater. But when he blocked her number and deactivated his social media, she started emailing him from anonymous accounts, sending long, rambling messages about how he had ruined her life. The situation escalated quickly. One night, Daniel realized his car was vandalized. The windshield was shattered, and the words, "You will regret this," were spray painted across the hood. He called the police, but without proof that Jessica was behind it, there was little they could do. Daniel started sleeping with a bat by his bed, but even that couldn't prepare him for what was coming. It was a quiet night when it happened. Daniel was asleep when the sound of shattering glass jolted him awake. His room was thick with the smell of smoke and flames. He grabbed his phone and stumbled towards the door, but the heat was unbearable. As he reached the handle, he saw her. Jessica stood outside the window, her face illuminated by the firelight. She was wearing a black hoodie, her eyes wild with a mix of rage and something that looked disturbingly like love. In her hand, she held a crowbar. "Jessica!" he screamed. "What are you doing?" She didn't answer. Instead, she smashed the window, letting more air feed the fire. Daniel had no chance but to run through the flames, his skin searing as he made his way to the front door. He burst outside, coughing and gasping for air, only to look up and see Jessica waiting there for him. In her hand was an axe. "You can't leave me," she said, her voice eerily calm. "If I can't have you, no one can." Jessica loomed over him, raising the axe high above her head. The last thing Daniel saw was her face, a twisted mask of love and madness as the axe came down. And then there was darkness. Emma was the kind of girlfriend who always seemed too good to be true. She remembered all the little things, how he liked his coffee, the songs he hummed when he was stressed, even the way he moved his eyebrows when he was deep in thought. At first, it felt like she really saw him, understood him, but soon her behavior became invasive. She would show up at the gym when he was working out, claiming she just happened to be in the area. If he went out with his friends, she'd call him at least twice, pretending to check in, but her tone always carried a hint of suspicion. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe," she'd say, her voice sweet but laced with an edge that made Matt uneasy. One night, he came home to find Emma sitting on his couch. He hadn't given her a key, but somehow she was there, holding a framed photo of him and his college friends. "You've changed so much," she said, her eyes bleeding with unshed tears. "I want to be the one that knows you better than anyone." Matt's stomach twisted. He told himself it was harmless, just Emma being Emma, but her presence began to feel like a shadow, always lingering, always watching. Things escalated when Emma started showing up at his workplace. She'd sit in the parking lot for hours, waiting for him to come out. His coworkers began to whisper about the clingy girlfriend, and Matt couldn't shake the embarrassment. When he confronted her about it, she just smiled, her eyes wide with innocence. "I miss you so much when you're gone. Don't you miss me?" He tried to set boundaries. He explained that he needed space, time for himself, but Emma nodded, her face calm, but her eyes told a different story. "You don't need space," she said softly. "You need me." Matt woke to a strange sound, a soft humming coming from outside the window. He peered through the blinds and froze. Emma was standing in his backyard, holding a candle, her silhouette flickering in the dim light. "I just wanted to see you." "This isn't normal, Emma," Matt said, his voice trembling. "You can't keep doing this. This is not healthy, for either of us." Her face crumbled, and for a moment, he thought she might understand. But instead her tears turned to laughter, soft, eerie, and entirely out of place. "You think you can live without me?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. You'll see. You'll see how much you need me." A week later, Matt came home to find his apartment trashed. His clothes were shredded, his furniture overturned, and the walls were covered in red spray paint. "We are forever." He called the police, but Emma denied everything. "I'd never do something like that," she said sweetly when they questioned her. "Matt must be confused. Maybe he has enemies." Matt blocked her number, deleted his social media, and started staying with a friend to feel safe. But Emma wasn't deterred. She sent him handwritten letters, slid under the door of his friend's apartment. The messages were disturbingly romantic, detailing how they'd grow old together, how she'd never let anyone take him away from her. One letter included a photo, a picture of him sleeping, taken through the window of his friend's home. The breaking point came on a cold winter night. Matt was driving home late, exhausted from a long day of work. His headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the empty road ahead. Suddenly, he saw her, standing in the middle of the street, arms outstretched, her face hidden by the hood of her coat. He slammed on the brakes, his car skidding to a stop just inches from her. His heart pounded as he jumped out, yelling, "Emma! What the hell are you doing?" She didn't respond. Instead, she pulled a knife from her pocket, her face illuminated by the bright glow of the headlights. "I'm here to save us," she said, her voice calm. "If we can't be together in this life, we'll find each other in the next." Matt backed away, his hands shaking. He tried to reason with her, to keep her talking while he reached for his phone, but Emma was faster. She lunged at him, the blade glinting in the light. He fought her off, managing to knock the knife from her hand. She fell to the ground, sobbing, screaming that she loved him, that she couldn't live without him. Police arrived moments later, alerted by a witness who had seen everything. Emma was taken into custody, her screams echoing into the cold night air. Even as she was dragged away, her eyes stayed locked on Matt, filled with a terrifying mixture of love and hatred. "You'll never be free of me," she whispered. Matt moved to a new city, changed his name, and tried to rebuild his life. But every night, he locks his doors, checks his windows, and is haunted by the memory of Emma's eyes and that fear of one day she might find him again. Angela had a way of making Trevor feel like he was the only person in the world. When they first started dating, her attention was intoxicating. She remembered every little thing that he said, showing up with his favorite coffee, or surprising him with tickets to events he had only mentioned in passing. It felt like true love, pure, undivided, and absolute. But as weeks turned to months, Trevor began to notice that Angela's attentiveness was not just love, it was surveillance. It started subtly. She asked for his location just to make sure that he got home safe. Then she insisted he share his location on his phone permanently. "It's just for emergencies," she said, with a smile that didn't quite seem genuine. Soon, her questions about his day became interrogations. "Who were you texting at lunch? I saw you smiling at your phone. Why did you stay 5 minutes at the gym longer than usual?" Trevor tried to laugh it off, chalking it up to her insecurity. But one night, as he came home from a late work meeting, he found Angela sitting in her car outside his apartment, engine running, headlights off. "I just wanted to make sure you got home okay," she said, stepping out of the car as though nothing was strange. That was when the dread began to settle in. Angela became a shadow in his life, always a step behind him. She showed up at his office just to drop off lunch, but always lingered long enough to chat with his colleagues. When he confronted her, she acted hurt. "I'm only trying to be a part of your life," she'd say. "Isn't that what love's about?" But her presence was suffocating. She started posting pictures of them online, pictures Trevor didn't even know she'd taken. One day, he saw a photo of himself asleep on her couch with the caption, "My forever love." Trevor's unease grew. He tried to create distance, spending more time with his friends. But Angela would always find a way to wedge herself into his plans. She'd show up unexpectedly, or flood his phone with texts until he gave in and invited her. When he finally told her he needed space, her demeanor shifted. "Space?" she echoed, her eyes narrowing. "Why would you need space from someone who loves you so much?" It wasn't long before the incident started. One morning, Trevor woke up to find his car covered in sticky notes. Each one was scribbled with a different message. I love you. You're mine. We belong together. When he first saw it, he was very concerned. Then he found Angela watching him from behind a tree. Do you like it? She asked, stepping out of the shadows. Angela, this is insane. You can't keep doing this. But I just wanted to show you how much you mean to me. He blocked her number, hoping it would give him peace, but Angela found other ways to reach him. She sent flowers to his office with handwritten letters. She would leave notes at the gym for him, and she even cornered his landlord to ask for a spare key in case of emergencies. The final straw came when Trevor came home to find his apartment door open. Inside, the walls were covered in photos of him, some of their time together, others that must have been taken without his knowledge. There were even pictures of him asleep in his own bed. He packed a bag and left that night, staying with a friend until he could figure out what to do. But Angela's obsession did not stop. She began posting cryptic messages online, tagging him in posts saying things like, "You can run, but you can't hide," and "We're meant to be together forever." Trevor ignored the messages and didn't reply, but it only seemed to escalate her behavior. One night, as he laid awake in his friend's spare room, he heard the faint tapping of the window. His stomach dropped when he saw Angela's face pressed against the glass. "You can't ignore me forever, Trevor," she whispered, her breath fogging the glass. He called the police, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. The weeks that followed were a nightmare. Trevor moved to a new apartment in a different part of town, but Angela somehow found him. She left notes on his door, put pictures of him in his mailbox, and even carved his name into the hood of his new car. The final confrontation came one stormy night. Trevor woke up to the sound of his door creaking open. Heart pounding, he grabbed a baseball bat from under the bed and crept into the living room. There she was, standing in the dark, her knife glinting in her hand from the ambient light outside. "I told you we'd be together forever," she said, her voice eerily calm. Trevor raised the bat, his hands trembling. "Angela, put the knife down. You don't have to do this." "But I do," she said, stepping closer. "I need to show you how much I love you, and I want you to love me back." He swung the bat just as she lunged, knocking the knife out of her hand. When the police arrived, they found Trevor sitting on the floor, shaking, with Angela unconscious beside him, the knife laid inches from her hand. It was finally over, but the scars of her obsession would remain with him forever. What's the limit on love? When is it too much? And when is it scary? Hey, Spooky Sooner here. Sorry I've had sporadic videos coming out. I tried to run a marathon and I only got to mile 20, so that happened recently. But I'm done with that. Making stories again. I'm gonna come out with creepy roommate stories and another scary stories for sleep. So stay tuned. If you want me to read your stories, if you have any ideas, email me at spookysooner7964@gmail.com and I can take a look at that, put it together, and maybe make stories from it. So if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, making your own channel, let me know. I put some AI artwork into the actual visual of it sometimes, mixed with real video that I've taken or some stock video. But this is my voice. This is really me, and I'm not going to do AI generated voice stuff. So if you have any recommendations for stories, please also send that to me. Take care and stay spooky. Hey, testing 1 2 3 4 5. This is Spooky Scooter. I'm coming in live and on the radio. I am here to scare you and make very scary things happen in your head. Blah, 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 blah. You're scared. You're scared, aren't you? Jessica stood outside the window, her face illuminated by the illuminated. But soon, her attentiveness. But soon, her attendant. Illuminating the empty road ahead. Illuminated. He slammed on the brakes. His scars. He slammed on the brakes. His car skidding to a stop just inches. One night, as he weighed One night, as he weighed